Welcome to the ONSTAGE podcast. I'm your host, Chris Robert. Bingo, boom. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another podcast. And it's already Wednesday. Can you believe it? And March, in the middle, not the middle of March, but soon it's going to be the summer because time goes by so fast. But I'm going to give a shout out to Mr. Muyuwa Abadabi, who is the podcast host of Day In and Day Out. Hello, he's watching. So today we have a special guest and our very first actress, but she's also a singer and she does everything. She also has a podcast called All Over the Place. So I think that's a great name for her podcast because she's all over the place. And we are so excited to have her here. And I'm just so blessed to have her. Wow, I can't believe it. I mean, I looked at all her film reels and everything. I said, this is awesome. So before we start, we're just going to introduce that she was born, I think her last is Chonacas, and she was born in Detroit, Michigan, and she moved to Los Angeles in 2002, and then she landed roles in television series and movies. And also, you might not know this, but she also goes by the name of Saint Kyriaki. And if you look at your Greek Orthodoxy, you will find out who that is. Oh, this is like perfect. We're going to have a perfect podcast today. So before we introduce her, we're going to show a little bit of a montage of her film and roles. And then in the middle of the podcast, when we get a chance to talk about Saint Kyriaki, we're going to show a little bit of her from her groups that she's in. So let's start this now.
My set doesn't start for an hour.
Well, we're not here as fans.
What do you want from me?
I need your help. Peter has another girl.
Save your breath. We're all forced to do things to survive. I moved on. Excuse me. This is worth $60,000. Doesn't that get us past attempted?
Where's the rock at? Come on. Who's got the kibble?
You want to head?
Yes.
Ready to order, gentlemen?
I'm not gonna eat. I'm out.
What are you doing? Come on, sit down.
For you, sir?
Me?
I'll take the wheel.
The veal.
Yeah.
Okay, the veal it is. Thank you. I've been so worried about you. Are you okay? Oh my God, you don't look okay. Here, have a seat. Sit. Do you want to lay low and go brunette for a while? Yeah. Oh, Mrs. Bubbles. Oh, ew, you're such a dork. Ew, you smell. Ew, gross. Ew, disgusting. I want to learn about my grandmother. My thing is, just because someone's manic depressive doesn't mean the family has to hide her. If someone took my poetry away, I would totally be in a mental hospital.
You would totally be in law school.
2 older brothers and a father watching my every move. I'm stuck here,
Lucas was off limits.
just like in the show. Lucas was Romeo, and I was Juliet.
Here she is, Katie Elizabeth Chonacas. Hello, Katie. How are you? Oh, yeah, I forgot to bring you up right. How are you, Katie? There she is, Katie Chonacas.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Thank you for having me. I'm well. How are you?
Well, thank you very much for being with us today. I'm so happy that you're here. You look excellent. And
Thank you.
now we get to talk to the ones in the video and in those shows and in those movies. Deep Dirty with Nicolas Cage there. Oh my goodness. Like, did you literally kiss him, or was that just you got that close and then they said cut and then you separated?
Oh,
So
no,
remember-
it's real. It was a close set. It was, it was authentic. It was real. It was in the moment, and it's what it specifically needed for the scene. So as professional actors, we went there and, that's what it was. So, but I hear a lot of responses about the heated scene. So I think we did a very good job. What do you think?
I
Did
think
you
it was
see-
awesome because Nicolas Cage is my favorite actor.
Oh,
And when I saw that you were in Bad Lieutenant, I went, "Oh my goodness, I just saw that movie recently." And now when I found out you were going to be on my show, I paid particular attention to you and Nicolas Cage. I'm like, wow, I can't believe it. I'm going to ask her, how did she actually kiss him?
yeah.
This, this
Oh
is
yeah,
awesome.
I went all
Yeah.
in. I went all in. I was very ferocious, you know. I got the part. I was in Shreveport, Louisiana, doing another film with Val Kilmer, 50 Cent, Sharon Stone was in the film. Charles Winkler was the director, Streets of Blood, and we were in Shreveport. And I got the call that I was going. You know, Werner Herzog wanted to call me personally after I met him in Los Angeles to offer me the role. And so the producer told me, and I was wrapping up set of another movie, Streets of Blood, and I was going to my hotel room, and then I got a call. They're like, okay, he's going to call you now. So I'm standing by the phone, and it's like a Joan Crawford moment, literally, because I'm like standing waiting, and I just got off set. So I'm feeling awesome. And now I'm getting a call personally from the director
Wow.
you know, come to New Orleans to, you know, shoot the Bad Lieutenant with, you know, Nicolas Cage in his German wonderful accent. and my jaw was just dropped, and I'm like, yes, I feel so honored, yes. And so at that point I started getting to work, which is my imagination. I was able to fantasize and play and read and you know, like build my character and have dreams about like the scene and also Nicolas Cage of like how I was going to be when I approached him and saw him. And no matter how much we prepare, it never goes the way we think or want it to go. But the fact that I was able to just go on that journey and explore, I was able to be so free in the moment when we got to set, and when Werner said action, I was able just to like show up, you know, for the craft and the work. And I wasn't in my head. I was just like really sensorially in my gut, you know? So
Yeah.
I think, you know, I blew him away in some ways. And reflecting back, maybe, you know, it's just like how I am. But in the moment, I'm not thinking, oh, like this is what I'm doing. And no, I'm just like immersed in it, you know?
Do you actually have access to Nicolas Cage and the other actors or did they just, okay, once we're in the scene, we'll interact, but after the scene, don't talk to me? Or is he like, so what do you think of the scene? Let's come here. Let's have coffee together or whatever. What is he actually like in real life? But
Yeah. I mean, what?
before you say anything, let's go back to people who don't know who you are. Can you give us a lowdown of who you are and give them an update so then we can go back to
Sure, sure, sure. I'm Katiechonacas. I was born with two names. In the Greek tradition, we're named after saints and goddesses, and I'm named after the Saint Kyriaki. That's my yaya, my grandmother's name, who's my best friend. She's 92, growing strong. It's on my dad's side. So I
Wow.
come from these Greek roots, right? Kiriyaki, my baptismal name, and then Katie, and my last name is Chonacas. And so my yaya side of the family, my dad's side of the family is Greek, and my papu and yaya, they both came to America for a better opportunity. And you know, my parents met when they were teenagers, and they came from very humble beginnings, and they were, you know, building the American dream. They had four kids, and they were work 40 hours a week. So they, you know, provided lunches, you know, dinners at the table. We would all eat together. I would go to school. And when we came home, you know, I ran cross country. So I used to run 50 miles a week. My dad was a cross country runner. He turned me on to cross country running, and it gave me the opportunity to understand short term, medium term, and long term goals, which gave me a lot of foresight and intuition, to not only like being a team player in life, in the workplace, and within friendships, but what you do as an individual affects the whole. So the cross country sports mentality I got from my dad and the Greek roots, and they were off working. So when we came home from school, you know, we were raised very independent in a way. So I was reading Plato and Socrates and reading poetry, and I was, you know, I grew up with like Greek mythology and hearing about Atlantis and, you know, all those cool things. So gave an opportunity for my mind to be in a fantasy and to kind of wander in that way, you know, Mark Twain and things of that nature. So, and I grew up in the church. So I grew up with, you know, discipline And I grew up understanding religion and culture through my upbringing and being an observer, because I was very sensorial and, and an emotional human being, an empath. I didn't know the language of empath, empathy, and being an empath and being sensitive to other people's energies. And HSP, highly sensitive person, 16 to 20% of the population are HSPs. I didn't know those things when I was a kid, but as I observed things, it gave me a great insight for when I did travel the world, and I was around Vietnamese culture and France and, Indian culture, all these different, backgrounds. I was able to understand not everyone, but a lot who have these diverse backgrounds. It's just what they were gifted. It's their culture, it's their food, and I could identify and connect. And I also saw people, who didn't have a rock to lean on, and there were like other people in the world. So for me, it's a rock I can lean on. I know I have that. It was gifted to me. It doesn't make up who I am, but it's brushstrokes that have nurtured who I am, and and then I went on this journey of discovering. So that's kind of in a nutshell about like me and who I am and where I stem from growing up in Michigan.
And did you grow up with many siblings, sisters and brothers?
Yeah, I have there's 4 of us total, so one big Greek family. I have 2 sisters. One's older. I have a younger sister and a younger brother. And my sister, eldest sister, and my brother, they're both in Hollywood in Los Angeles right now.
That's amazing, because there's 7 kids in my family, 4 boys, 3 girls, and we're half Dutch, half Hungarian. And I used to work with some Greek employees, and they used to teach me some Greek. After I saw that movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, remember when Joey Fatone, when they asked him how to say this in Greek, he would respond, but it wasn't really what was in English. It was something totally like, and they would usually say the word where I worked. They usually say the word dekanis. What does dekanis mean? Does that mean
How are you?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I got to take up more Greek, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, that's excellent. I'm so glad that you told us your story. So at what age did you decide, hey, I want to be an actress? Or was it, I want to be an archaeologist? Or, oh, I want to be a singer. Oh, but I also want to be an actress. Can I put the 2 together?
Yeah, I wanted to do it all. I wanted to do it all. And I just remembered everyone saying, pick one thing, do one thing, do it really well, do one thing, just do one thing. And I saw around me, because I was just such an observer, it's like, how can you pick one thing when there's so many things to explore? Like, it's life. Like, I want to discover why I'm here. Like, before I can gift life to another, God willing, if it's meant to be for me, how can I gift life to another if, I should first enjoy and discover, the gifts that were given to me. So I wanted to fully immerse myself, and I didn't want to have regret. And I saw there was a lot of shaming and blaming. I saw there was a lot of like parents and people in school and who are upset, and they have pressures of their parents. We want you to do this. We want you to do this. Or they have to go into their family businesses or whatever, things like that. And I'm like, I don't want to be a part of any of that. And then there were like, people where mommy and daddy paid their education, or that you got a full scholarship, which I did. I had a full scholarship. Or like, you do the schlepping of like going to school, then getting in debt, and then like working, and then paying that debt off, and then like having a family. And then I'm like, that I just knew, I'm like, I'm not doing any of that. Like, I just wasn't into doing any of that. And it's weird, because I always reflected, like, do I really want to be an actor? Because like when we were kids, we were watching the AMAs, the music awards, the Oscars, all the awards, and they would be getting all these trophies. And I mean, they seemed like dinosaurs. I was such a kid. Like, they were all like, like so much older, like all the people who were winning like the awards. And I was very entertaining, and I loved it. And I had a gravitation towards all of these things. But reflecting it, it's like I never said like, oh, I need to win this like golden trophy. It was never about the golden trophy, So like, now that I think about it, yeah, like, do you think if I'm gonna get one or not? Like 1000% I could, but that's not like why I do what I do. You know what I mean? It's like there's more to it. And it's like, for me, when I was a kid, being, so sensitive, and I felt how sad and upset people were, how humanity was, I wanted to make other people feel good. So like, when you look at the people who do comedy, and there's a lot of truth to the comedy. It's the people who can take the sorrows and the hurt and the pain and turn it into comedy. And the stand-up people, very intelligent, like to do stand-up, and they can laugh at their own selves. Like they have to like cut the umbilical cord. Like I started stand-up comedy like earlier on in my career, but I was so attached to my emotional family stuff and my like to the umbilical cord. I was so attached. I took it too personally. I didn't have the strength. And then like over 2 decades passed, and like, October, right before the world blew up, I did comedy, and I was on a great run, and I like almost had sold out shows, and I was doing really cool with comedy, because I wasn't attached to the emotional suffering or the people pleasing, the imposter syndrome of like what other people are going to think about me, and having my reputation and my career. And like, I was like a F it card, like whatever. So I started doing the comedy. And so I think the people who do the comedy and who do the stand up, they have the strength, and, they can, understand what it's like to feel those things, and then they want to make other people feel good. So that's what I like to do. I like to, through my art, I like to shape shift and make people feel something, whether it's physical painting, music, poetry, comedy, drama, TV, voiceovers, like anything I touch is art. And it's to, express how I'm feeling. And then that's a transfer of energy for the person who attunes and hears it and sees it, for them to then feel something, no matter what it is. It's not good or bad, but just to shapeshift some kind of emotion, because emotion is energy, emotion.
Do you think you could literally teach someone to be a katiechonacas? Like Chonacas. So if you learn something and you're great at it, can you teach someone else to do that?
1,000. Because what happens is, what I've seen a lot of people do, it has to be exact. It has to be this way. But what I do is these, and that's why I have my podcast, which is called She's All Over the Place, because I take my over 2 decades of it traveling the world and my experiences, and it's not right or wrong. It's, it's like, hey, this is my experience for 10 years, and we're evolving as a society with technology and information. But here's what I did. And if it took me 10 years and you can do it in 10 months or 10 days or 10 hours, cool. Let's hold hands and do it together. Let's break the stigma of the isolation and the gatekeeping, and let's, go on this journey of life together. I had this ancient wisdom when I was 12, and I had this voice like leading me along the way. And I was yearning and seeking, like Socrates, know thyself. And, his philosopher, his definition of a philosopher is of a seeker, is a person who's a lover of wisdom. And I've always just been this seeker, like a sponge wanting to sponge it. So if people have the ambition and the curiosity, which is the number one emotion, to learn, to grow, to take the actionable steps, yes, you're 1,000% coachable indeed. If you're not going to put the energy, which is the number one form of currency, and be interested, you're not going to be interesting. So if you're interested in serving and putting your heart first and putting yourself out there in an ethical way, sticking to your morals, your values, and your boundaries, and maybe you don't know what that is, which is a great start, then you can say, what sticks with me? What was taught to me that I gel with, that I want to keep, that I want for my future family? What was taught to me that I don't mesh with, so I can break generational trauma and then understand the role that one is playing, and then be coachable and learn. And then I can, anyone can show you the way if they're willing, but one has to take a step as an individual or with a collective. But it's going to come out the way it comes out for them. It's not going to come out the way that like when I dyed my hair blue, like whoever else dyes their hair blue, it's not going to come out the same way. Like, because, they could get a different shade of blue, a different brand. It could be on a different day. I just washed my hair. What if someone does it when their hair's wet? Or what if someone hasn't washed the hair for 2 weeks and it doesn't stick because of the oil? So
Yeah.
It's so every situation, every conversation is so unique, but 1,000%. Yes. Like everyone's always called me like a Renaissance person ever since I was little. Like they call me an old soul. Like, I'm like, what does that mean? And now I like get it.
It means like what, like there's a Renaissance man, the Renaissance woman of the generation. But you said that you started this when you were 12. What were you like when you were 11 or 10? Is it just were you introvert? Were you extrovert when you were born? Are you extrovert now? Are you introvert now? Did you just become an extrovert? Like you said at 12. So you must have made a lot of friends, and you must have had quite an impression on them.
I just felt a lot of people in school didn't like me. I
Oh.
really feel that way. And I feel like a lot of people feel that way. So I always had this script because my mom and dad had a girl. And then like I always had a script that, oh, it's supposed to be a boy. And then they had their third child, it was a boy. They never said that, but I
Mhm.
brought that up and I carried that. So then I like, felt like a town boy, right? Like flannel, blue hair, like androgynous, like,
Mm.
but some girls I meet, they're like, "Oh, you're so feminine. You're so like, oh my God." Da, da, da. But like I feel a lot of masculine energy within me. And so I explore like I have She's All Over the Place podcast, which is a women empowerment podcast.
Good.
And it explores divine femininity in all genders and breaking down societal norms of what that looks like in the responsible roles that one has. Because this could go off in so many different directions, but what's the base of the question again? What would you say? Because I could just go off.
No, because when you said you became sort of like an empath when you were 12, and I asked you, were you more extroverted when you first
Mm,
be
mm.
well, what were you like when you were 10, 11? Were you introverted?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I've been saying when I found out I'm an ambivert, so extrovert and introvert. Then I met this woman, Jen, who's on my podcast about 4 weeks ago, who specializes with HSP, highly sensitive persons which is highly sensitive persons extrovert, which she thinks like I'm an extrovert, but since I have those tendencies of my energy being sensitive and I need to be out, like I need to go out in the world, but then I'm like done and I have to like go into my cocoon and like, revitalize my internal energy. She thinks I'm like a HSPE, right? And everyone can listen to that episode. But yeah, so I'm like, I'm very much a homebody. I'm very much the person when I was 14 years old, and maybe I get it from my dad because he, grew up with him being the coach of SS softball team, which is the name after our church, Saint Spiridon. It's in Greek. It's in St. Clair Shores. It's a Greek Orthodox church. So he'd be like on the phone with his buddies, wheeling and dealing and planning this state and talking to everyone. Like everyone in town knows him. He's a social butterfly. Like every time I see my dad's friends, like, oh, your dad's so proud of you, your dad, blah, blah, blah. And he's, always saying these cool things about me, which is so cool. So like I grew up very ambitious. I grew up as, Apollo's twin, Armidas. Like she's the goddess of the hunt. So I'm a huntress. Like I was taught like, independent. Like if you want it, great, go and get it. Like no one's gonna do it for you. So that's how I grew up, very independent from my parents. So like my favorite quote was Nike, to win, victorious people. Nikki, it's a Greek rooted word. Just do it. Right. So that was like my motto, like just do it. So if I get that intuitive hit, I go for it, right? I don't sit around and talk to people and ask people about it. Like I go and do it because once you talk about it or you ask about it, you're going to get so in your head. And if you listen to other people, by time then it's going to be so deflated. The balloon, everything out of the balloon is going to be drained. The moment's going to pass. And the mind doesn't know the difference if you've done it or not. If you take the energy and you dissipate it everywhere. So I always tell my clients, because I coach industry coaching clients. I always say, look at it like a baby. I found out in the first trimester that a lot of, people carrying can miscarry. I didn't know that. And so that's why a lot of people don't say that they're pregnant until 3 months after, because like the solid foundation has to grow for for it to be strong enough to continue. So I'm thinking if we're birthing these ideas as humans, we're always birthing these ideas. And you have something, write about it, journal about it, grow that energy within, right? In your gut, in your heart, grow that energy within internally. So it's so strong like an oak tree. So when then you do go and talk about it 3 months, 6 months later, you're not swaying from other people's, your ex's comments, your partner's comments, your mom, your dad, your siblings. Like it doesn't matter what other people say because you're already on the track going. You know what I mean? Unless you have someone be on the board or they're instrumental in a way where they're going to support you on your journey. But to have to explain someone on your journey, like what you're doing, to make it happen is already like a thing, to like create something out of nothing. So to have to explain it to someone who's just so brainwashed by the Matrix, or they're so like, I don't want to say dumbed down, but they're so like stupid in a way. You know what I mean? Because they're just like going around in circles and circles, which isn't very nice at all to say it either. But some people are just like, do what I'm told. I want to be a people pleaser. I'm scared of the imposter syndrome. What if it's not right? Look how the comparison game, which is a death threat. And I know because I grew through all that crap. And I went off and I had a divine knowing of who I was. And I went and did all these fabulous things. And then the bug of life caught me at some point. It caught me. And then I woke up and I'm like, whoa, like I didn't even know it caught me, and it did. I was like, when did that happen? Like I've been under a rock for the last year. And it's like, yo, it's like a year passed, and then I got back on my train track. And then some life, it happened again. And I was like, oh my God, I've been under a rock for 3 years. Like sometimes people wake up and they're like, yo, I was under a rock for 10 years. Some people never wake up. Right. So that's why I speak the voice that I do. I'm not some feminist. I'm not some like women empowerment, even though it was International Women's Day yesterday and I'm celebrating International Women Month all month. And I curated, with men and females, all divine femininity, a curation for International Women's Month, because I was out talking to a couple people. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. People don't even know to honor women. Right. So when I was a kid, I was honored in ways and I wasn't, in the ways that I needed and wanted to be honored as a businesswoman, as a human being, like raising capital to support humanity and my dreams and for all with good intention, was like to prove myself was just like horrific and draining. And I was, taken advantage of, we all get taken advantage of in some ways. And just like, spiritual rape, they call it, when when someone takes when you have an idea and someone like takes it from you. People do it in Hollywood all the time, not physically, but you could just tell someone your idea, then they go and like take it and make it their own. And like, they don't pay homage or credit or like have you be a part of it. So in conclusion to what I'm saying, like, yes, I identify as she, her, like, I'm very much like, cool, she, her, but I also love they, them, to be like, non-binary, where it's like, it's like, just because you may look like a male, I'm not going to judge you based on what I was taught that you're male. So then these are your responsibilities as a male when you're in partnership, in relationship with me in the workplace, on a personal level, or just in friendship. Like, I want to break all that and say, who are you? What do you offer? What are your strengths? Those are what you lead with. Okay, the things that you don't lead with, the things you don't want to do, don't do them. I'm not going to force you and put society things like you need to do this because you're a female or a male, and then be a part of the new world, right? Where it's like, this is your weakest link. Okay, if this is your weakest link, it's not for me. I can help you do that, or I know someone who can, right? So I can tell you my weakest links, and I'm not going to be pressured to do those things that I don't want to do. Like, that's not why we're here in life, right? So we're conditioned, and I'm here raising my voice and spreading my voice here right now in the moment as you are, so we could collectively have these conversations to demystify and break down things that aren't working in society, so we can create as we are and evolve together.
Well, that sounds like very interesting, because I know people right now who relate to what you had to say. And I know that I was bullied when I was growing up, but I don't know if I had given anybody energy. But when you're talking about displaying energy, I'm thinking I can imagine you as a 12-year-old. People are going, this girl, she spreads all this energy and it makes me feel good about myself and makes me want to do something. So
yeah, I love when I get that. I'll go and I'll meet people and they're just like, the first thing they see is like, oh, your energy. Like, they love my energy, right? And then, so that's great. That I love that. And I've been beaten down. So like, it's a part of life. So it's like when people say that, it's like, that's your essence, that's your spirit, like knowing no matter how hard, they can't take it away. But I also remember like, growing up in Hollywood and stuff, like they see this energy, but then people don't know what to do with it. Or going back to what you said, like when I was a kid, all this good energy and people liking it, cool. But then also the other side is having all this energy and then, people blaming and shaming you for it. And 1000% I was bullied. I was bullied too. And I bullied people. Like I bullied people. Like it made me feel good to bully people in a way. And it was false power. It was a false ego. It was wanting the love, and it happened to me, so I did it to other people, and I call myself out on it. You know what I mean? But I've definitely been bullied. I'm sorry you were bullied. I'm really, really sorry about that.
Well,
Especially
over
when
the
we're kids.
yeah, over the years, I became friends with a lot of them, and many of them were the girls I grew up with too. And I don't know have any reason why, because right now it's sort of like I forgive you, I forgive you. And now I'm friends with a lot of them, and one of them like, why did you do that? Because you're young. You're 7, you're 10 years old. You have lunch with them, and they apologize. So sorry, what I did to you 37 years ago. And I'm not, well, you know what? That was 40 years ago, but it's like yesterday. So I know, and it's not like you got to forgive everyone. And yeah, and I can tell by your energy that you have. But when you were first entering Hollywood, did those that you were trying to act in front, like the producers, the directors, or you were going for read throughs, did they detect that you had that energy? Did they say, we want this girl? What is your name again? Oh, yes, Katie said, we want you to because of your energy. Or was it like, how was it like when you first entered Hollywood? How were you treated? Especially being a female actress. And you're talking about how I know, like in Hollywood, they do have problems and a lot of issues with like that I don't want to say the S word on but you know what I'm talking about, and how many actresses in just one, I won't give her name, but she's famous, she came out and said that when she was younger she had, her father did something to her or whatever. But it's amazing because behind the camera you won't know that these actresses and actors ever had a problem when you're growing up, because you're putting them on a pedestal and said, and then when that thing happened with um when that thing happened was gee, I can't even remember his name, but nobody wants him in Hollywood anymore. How did you feel that when you first entered Hollywood and entered as an actress? How did you notice anybody treating you differently? um how did Katie Chonacas feel when she had to read for the first time?
Oh yeah. So I mean, great question. So the thing is, it's different now from how it was. Now everything's self-tape. So I can literally be anywhere in the world and just self-tape, which is so cool. And then that's how they see the work. So it breaks down the energy of going to, Fox, going to Paramount, like changing in your car, like reading in front of 2 people or 10 people or 17 people and then messing up. It's like you can just, press stop and record again. But the energy was like, the thing is, like I said, I'm a huntress. So like I went in with the business mindset. I had my ethics, my morals, my values, in order to some degree. And I didn't drink or do any drugs. So like I wasn't getting involved in certain kind of, cobwebs, as you would say. I didn't go to certain places after a certain hour. I got a team. So when you have a team, they send you out for professional roles and you trust your team, and there's like a system to Hollywood. That's the best way to go through the channels with casting directors, producers, managers, agents, directors who contact your agency, and then you're going in for the audition, you're reading it, and then you do your job as an actor and you leave. That's the best way to do it. However, if you're union, they get 10%. If you're non-union, they
10.
they get 10% if you're union, SAG. But if you're non-union, they could take 15, 20%, depends what the gig is, right? But the thing is, since they get 10%, it's show business and they get 10%. I didn't have to, but I chose as an independent go-getter from, Detroit, Michigan. I would go network and I would be at all the parties, all the events, but I didn't drink. I didn't do drugs. I would go and I would network and I would like collect 50 stacks of business cards. And there's, thank God for IMDb, iMovie database. So I'd go home and I would type in iMovie database and I would see, okay, are they this person who they say they are? If they're a producer, are they director? Are they working on any projects? Or do they have any projects coming out? And if they did, are they projects that I want to be a part of, like Reese Witherspoon, like Meryl Streep, like dope projects, like a certain like sophistication, a certain vibe of a product that I would want to be involved in? Or are they doing like D-level movies, C-level movies, and like cheesy movies that like I'm not going to be in with my career? And then, or if they weren't there at all, I would just rip up the business card and throw it away. It's like So I would sow seeds, and then I would see the ones that I liked, and I would nourish them. I would email them, do coffees, invite them to events, go to events, things like that. So you network. And then, you network. And then with like-minded people, you go to certain events, you meet other people, you network, you meet the people you shape shift your opportunities. And when there's an opportunity, you have them contact your agent, or your agent reach out to them to read for their project, to be involved in their project. That's the most ethical way you can do it, to keep a clean slate. If you're going to the Mondrian Hotel or any hotel, to someone's hotel room, alone, you're asking for trouble. If you're going there for a party to do cocaine, and you're asking for trouble. Like, it's not that hard. It's like but if that's what you're into, I'm not into cocaine. I'm not going to party in that kind of way. And I've been around people who, at film festivals, and people who are, people who book, who are very quote unquote powerful in positions, who book talent on certain things. They do those things, and they do those things sometimes with their clients, but they don't represent me, and I'm not doing those kind of things. You know what I mean? It's, look at me. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at all of this. Like, all of this is because I'm not putting toxic things in my body that aren't supposed to be there. Like, I'm on a mission. Like, I have a bigger mission, and I'm not judging anyone else's mission and what they're doing, but those are their choices. And karma does come around. I've seen things. One particular person I'm thinking about, that I'm not going to say any names. This person, I got this person on one of their first red carpets. And then this person went off to do like this, franchise and all these things. And then, so in my mind, I'm like, oh, I was ahead of this person, and that person aligned here and got so much further ahead of the game. But they're doing cocaine. They're sleeping with everyone to get roles. They have a reputation. They don't care.
Oh.
But a couple years later, their house burnt down.
Oh.
And it's like, thank God they weren't in there. But it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, things come full circle. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. And that's just like one story. Everyone has their own stories. I've had my ups and my downs, trust me. But it's so cool to see people in my career where it's like, they surpass me, and but I'm a cross country runner. So I'm in it for the long game. I'm not into short-term gratification. I do short-term gratification to honor myself. We need to do that to keep that, fire going, and to make it fun, interpersonal challenge in a fun way. Because it's a long road if you're really in it,
I love that, interpersonal challenge. That's an excellent word. Long, but it's pretty good. I'm going to use that if you don't mind. People say, "Oh, I know where you got that from. You got it from katiechonacas. You know her? Yeah, I was in a movie with her."
Yeah.
But my house burned down though. Sorry, that's a bad joke.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
No, but
thank God that person wasn't in there. I mean, their animals was in there, which is
I'm actually very familiar with the Hollywood scene, and some actors have, they were up here getting these big roles, and then suddenly something comes out that they did 20, 30 years, and they're gone. What is that? Now he's Kevin Spacey. That's it. I didn't want to say his name, but that would.
Is he in jail?
No, but something happened with Kevin Spacey, and nobody wants to hire him because somebody came forward. Well, actually, we're not going to talk about that. This is about you, so let's talk about you. And I want to talk to you, as I mentioned before. Tell me about Tina.
Sure. Yeah.
Because when you first, like, who were the other actresses that read for that part? Was it just you?
No, there were so many actors that read for that part. When I went to read for that part, Joanna Ray and Jenny Ju are the casting directors on that film. And Joanna Ray, she cast all of Quentin Tarantino's films.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me, in 25 years of casting, it's one of the best auditions she's ever seen. And to have that testimonial from her is just like, wow, those are beautiful, beautiful nuggets. And it really, really means a lot to me. And, I honor those words and that experience. When I was going, Pink was walking out. She read for a role. I don't know which role.
Seriously, wow.
Yeah, and I'm like, yo, Pink, what's up? Because I was the lead girl in her video. Who knew?
Amazing.
Yeah, one of her biggest, like, Sober and Who Knew, I think, are her biggest songs ever. And I admire and I love Pink. And because, like, the way she is, like, on her albums, like, it's very eclectic. It's not just like one kind of like the same album. It's like it's a variety, and I've always appreciated that. And just, you know, I love her as a human. But yeah, she was leaving, and when I was coming, I'm like, yo, what up? How you doing, Pink? Like all that. But no, I mean, a lot of people were up for the role. I don't know who was up for the roles. Like, usually I'm not told that information. I've been up for roles where, like, I'll be testing for something at Fox, and it's like, you know, like it was like Tom Hanks's son's girlfriend is like sitting next to me, and it's between me and her. You know what I mean? Like, so I've been in those six, all right, like 2.5 Men, the role, the granddaughter, Megan Fox, right? It was the granddaughter of the housekeeper, and it was between me and Megan Fox. And
Oh,
she came
cool.
out of the room storming, and her energy was like, and I'm like, oh, she got the role. But she had a buzz going about her then too. Like, so like you could feel the energy, you know what I mean? So that would have been cool to work on that show. But Tina was all mine. It was all mine. It, like, what I did in the audition, Werner's like, what I wore in the audition, I brought my YSL Muse bag, the dress I wore, the glass pipe I had. He's like, bring it all. I brought it all. He just wanted like what I brought, you know, like everything that I developed with my coach. I coached with Aaron Spizer's studio. He coaches J-Lo and Will Smith. Like, he'll be on set with them for like a couple months doing movies and stuff. Fred Tucker. I'm not sure if Fred's still there, but Fred Tucker coached me for that at Aaron Spizer's studio. And he, you know, helped me develop the character. I'm getting chills right now. So it was all mine. What's yours is yours. That's the thing. We can't compare ourselves to other people, because like I'm up for a role right now, and like it doesn't matter who books it. Like, I'm going to book it. And if I don't, I know that role's mine. You know what I mean? Like I am that role. I just know it. And I'm just like excited for them to give me a call. Cause like same thing with CSI New York. Like I knew I booked it. Strong Medicine. I knew I booked it. I knew it. I just knew
Gary
it.
Sinise, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. So here's another compliment. I'm tooting my own horns over here. But he told me my very first network role, CSI New York, Gary Sinise. It was just he and I, very intimate. So there's like close up, medium, wide shots, and then the camera flips. So when we were doing the close ups, we were waiting for them to set up the cameras around us. We're there. He's like, you're a very soulful actor. And I just took that in, and just by being on podcasts within the last year, I've told that story maybe 3 times now, but because you kind of do it and then you kind of keep going. But now I've been able to like reap what you sow, like enjoy like the labor, the fruits of the labor. So I'm saying this message to you because I'm also saying it to myself. We need to remember to honor how far we've come thus far in our journey, and to embrace those moments. And I feel like in this moment, you and I can do that together, which is really cool.
You know, if I had known what I know now 20, 25, 30 years ago, I think things would have been different, because I learned in the last couple of years, 3 years, that all that bad stuff that was in the past, you don't need that anymore. You just put, like it says in the Bible, put your hand to the plow. If you look back, you're not worthy of the kingdom of God. So for me, put a neck brace on so you can't look back. You know, that's sort of like my little spin on the thing.
I love
And
that. Put a neck brace on so you can't look back. So that would, for a mental hack, it would be like when you're aware to be aware, but when you're aware, like you're like thinking of that thing, like shape shift it, because we can only focus on one thing at a time. So don't let our monkey minds take over. Like, take it. That's why it's energy, emotion. The thought that comes is an energy.
exactly.
And you're gonna flow down the river of sorrow and dramatic, whatever. And Abraham
Pity
makes
parties.
this very eloquently. Like, you're either going upstream or downstream. You're either going with the flow of the current or you're not, right? So if we're going with the flow of the current, that's good. And if it's choppy and all those frustrating things and things we don't want are coming up, like, just be aware of it. So, you know, meditation, binaural beats, listening to music, like going to plays, doing things that's going to lift our spirits. However, I understand, and I like to be in that sorrow, like Khalil Gibran on Love and Joy, because how are we going to understand the depths of sorrow and the depths of joy, the brightest rainbow, if we haven't seen a dull rainbow, right? How are we going to say, oh my God, this has been an awesome conversation, if we haven't really had like a crappy conversation? You know what I mean? So, and not that one is right or wrong, but we can apply it to the canvas and make it transparent, and it's all just energy, right? And we can learn and grow and not hook ourselves into the be all end all. It was what it was. I'm grateful to have those experiences. That's done. We outgrew whatever that was, but now there's so much more life to live. And if
Yes.
we feel there's not, then we get to listen to podcasts and talk to other people and find different joys.
Well, here's the thing. Now, when you meet people, there's a connection, but sometimes no connection. And sometimes you lose the connection because my friend of like 30, 35 years, he's gone, right? So they're there for a certain time. And then there's friends who are with you right through your life. I want to say that you're in a nursing home together, but basically one day at a time. But you're right. And also I realize that what's the point of looking down and not looking ahead and feeling bad and not having this energy when you look at people, like when I'm feeling this way and I see someone in a wheelchair, or I see someone who's lost their sight, or someone who's deaf. I'm not blind, I'm not in a wheelchair. I have the ability to live my life independently, and it puts a smile on my face, not because they're blind, but because I I see a blind person or someone in a wheelchair, they're more happier and they're living their best life, as Joe Osteen would say, and they're just living it, and it kind of gets me to the point. Like you're inspirational, but I wanted to ask you about separating yourself from the actress Katie Chonacas, the actress, to Katie Chonacas, the female who's just living her life. Like,
Okay,
can
something
you
came up.
separate the two?
Can I share with you that something that came up when you were just saying it?
Sure.
So the other night I watched this amazing, legendary Robin Williams film with Robert De Niro, and it's called The Awakened or
Yeah,
Awakening.
Awakenings. Yeah.
The Awakening. So like sometimes I'm so hard on myself, right? Like with mental health and being all over the place and just, like it's difficult for me to do like admin stuff, because like I'm doing so much. So like I'm like a visionary and it's so difficult to like, remember all the logins and passwords and like I'm like on the computer and I'll like choke. So like it's our throat chakra and our mind, and I'll like stop breathing and my brain will go like this because I'm like not putting oxygen in my brain. And I'm more like in your body, an artist, just like, living life. So it's hard for me to do the admin stuff because I have so much going on. My brain's going like this.
Mhm.
So I'm so hard on myself, like thinking like something's wrong with me. But then I'm watching that film and I mean, like what you just said, it's like I'm so vulnerable because I'm watching that film and it's like those are people who like, are going through stuff, and like on my worst day I have it better than most, and I'm not comparing, but like we as individuals are so boxed in by other people's small mindedness who put so much shame and blame on us on a psychological level, when all of us are geniuses and all of us are talented and beautiful in a lot of ways. Like a lot of problems like we think we have, like we don't have. So like that movie was like, I've seen it years ago, but it was great to see it again just to like put things in perspective. I'm like, oh my god. And I you mentioned a nursing home. I'm like, I was telling my friend like, yo, like we should go like to a hospital and to a nursing home and like
Yeah.
let's perform. Let's go. Let's do that. You know what I mean? Like, I think more people should maybe do that, to put things in perspective of how good we really have it, right? Because even with the world blowing up, people like things have changed, but then some people are still like, we still need to keep growing and forgiving and being kinder to each other and ourselves. So I just wanted to elaborate on that because it really touched my heart.
I really, really thank you for sharing that, Katie. Let me tell you another thing. I used to volunteer in a nursing home when I was in my 20s. And some of the people, like you ask them a question, what's the one thing that you regret back when the 20s? And they say, oh, that I can no longer drive my racing car. And this is coming from like an 89-year-old. Or you would ask a woman, how come you're still single? And she could, because nobody asked me. And it's just terrible. Some of the things that no walks of life, they always come up with something. I was just talking to a friend of mine
'Cause
just
no one asked
yesterday.
me. So, because no one asked me. Because in
Yeah.
her position, she felt like since she was the female, she couldn't go be the alpha to go extend her hand. Although you know how many times she yearned for it. how she suffocated her liberation because someone told her along the way that someone's supposed to ask her.
Yeah. And when I was in my 20s, I also don't want to mention my age, but I was part of a men's group and we went to nursing homes and we're singing and you just never think about that when you're 21, 22, but when you're almost at I'm not at their age, but when you're almost 80 or 90, you're looking back that when you were younger, you were looking at the elderly this way. Now you think the young people are looking at you that way. So it's like talking about coming back to you like karma, which is something totally different. But yeah, I agree with you. And just the other day, my friend, his sister passed away, but he was like smiling and joking. I'm thinking, what is going on? Like, where's the grief? And he was grieving. I didn't type in the comments saying, how come you're not upset? I called him and said, yeah, can you tell me why you're laughing and your sister just died, whatever? And he said, no, I'm like exploding inside. I'm hurt inside. And he was crying over the phone and everything. And I was almost crying too. She's not my sister. But I felt like sensitive to people who lose siblings or lose their loved ones. And you begin to feel it. And like I lost my own parents, and it's my father was more had this energy he would mention, and he was so full of jokes, and because he was big, strong Dutch person, he strong minded. He had all these stories, and it was just absolutely amazing. And yeah, that's I really like what you said there. That actually helps. You look at everyone who doesn't have very much, and I'm like, I once had more than one thing. I'm like, I just got to get rid of this. So I just have at least, you just don't have this inkling for things, You
The
just,
thing, yeah, thanks for sharing. And the thing is, it's like the number one gift we have is our breath, like that deep breath I just took. Like, just to be here having the human experience, let's get to the basics here. Like, that's a celebration. And when people pass on, we're physical beings. We're not going to be here forever. We're not meant to design to be here forever. There's a life cycle and a process, and we're here to be a part of that journey. We signed up for it. So when people pass, it's natural to grieve, it's natural to grow through those things. It's a part of the whole experience of the grief and the sorrow to remember when you pick a butterfly, or you see a butterfly and you pick a rose, or you go on that vacation, or you're having those laughful moments because you're able to really appreciate those too because of the stuff you just mentioned. But also, in a lot of cultures, it's very American, right? But in a lot of cultures, people celebrate when someone passes. It's like a celebration of, a lot of people, they dance, they rejoice, they eat food. You want to remember the good times. We're not supposed to grieve and suffer alone, like it's a myth to grieve, to do grief and suffer alone. We can if we need to, but also, that's what family's for. And that's why animals get together in a pack, and you can heal quicker together and evolve together. And, when that person leaves, you have a psychological script in your mind. You feel them through your heart. They guide you, and sometimes they're there with you more. I had a man from my church who passed away recently, and I knew it was for years. I knew it was coming, and it's almost was like, when is it going to come? So he's not in suffering, so he's not in that pain, And it's that wondering of like, you just don't want to wait around for someone to die. Of course, you want them to be here, but he wasn't his same self. He got very angry, and this and this and that happened, and he's more in a peaceful place. And now he can actually see me right now on this conversation, and he can, I can still check in with him. Hey, Teddy. And he's there, and if I can still talk to him and ask him, and I would still talk to him and stuff, even if I wasn't calling him all the time. I still have this soulful connection with him. We're spiritual beings. Like, in the 1500s, when Shakespeare was writing poetry, when he did his poetry, if he talked about a character, he would talk about a character, a person, the way he would talk about a spirit, as if it was right there, very real. As a human being, spirit is very alive, and we can talk to spirit, and we don't have to know what to say. We can say, Spirit, I don't know what to say. Spirit, this is weird, but please guide me on my way. Grandfather, please guide me. I'm lost right now. Please keep the angels with me. We can ask for protection. It's okay to do that. We don't have to be alone. We're not alone. We don't have to ignore and turn a blind eye when we see something's happening on the street or in the news or in our society or what's happening in Ukraine right now. We don't have to debate about it and have a conversation. We can acknowledge that there's suffering in the world and there's suffering and it's happening, but we can also acknowledge there's so much joy in the world too, and we can acknowledge that we may feel like we're alone, but we're not alone.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about that. Now it kind of eluded my mind. But before we get into it, that's excellent that you would say that. I really appreciate that you sharing that with us. I wanted to talk to you about oh yeah, before we go and talk about your music career, I wanted to talk to you about how I'm a big SVU fan, and I saw that you were in that episode. I saw that recently, and I guess they saw your energy and especially Mariska Hargitay. Did you get a chance to meet her too?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about Saint Kyriaki? That's a patron Greek saint, I think.
Yeah.
Tell
Saint
us more about that.
Kyriaki. Yeah. Saint Kyriaki is a saint. She was a martyr. There's an island named after her. She's a prominent saint. She dedicated her life to the Lord. Her parents were philanthropists. She wasn't into boys and partnerships. She was into books and educations and her studies and devotion. And my yaya is my grandmother, who I'm named after, the Saint Kyriaki. And so that's how I got my name. And after my dad's mother. And also it means Sunday in Greek. So if you're listening to this on a Sunday, Simera ine Kyriaki. And if you're not listening to this on a Sunday, Simera then ine Kyriaki. So it's Kiriyaki is a word in the Greek language, and I think it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
So honored. It's such a blessing, and so important to know your name. Like what's the root word of your name? Like what does it mean? Where does it stem from? Why? So I think it's important to know these things at a root level.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Were you talking about Shakespeare? I remember that if you look at the history of Shakespeare, women weren't allowed to act. So Juliet was a man dressed as a woman, and it was the women that adopted the earrings. If you look at the history, so that's kind of interesting when you're talking about being the strong woman. And but I wanted to share some of your music with everyone. Saint Kyriaki, if you don't mind. I have a video here.
Dreamland 1111, my new album.
I think I think one of them is in there. So let's do that right now, okay?
Sure.
It's only a minute.
Okay, cool.
So that was excellent. I really appreciated that one. Saint Kyriaki, yeah. So you're Katiechonacas, the actress, and you're Saint Kyriaki, the musician.
Yeah.
What else do you call yourself? Or you use just those two monikers? Or do you have an...
I think that's enough. I think that's enough. Yeah.
And then your podcast, she's all over the place. I'm like, I know why.
I
I'm
do
sorry?
have a branded name, Cartoon Katie, in voiceover. So I go by Cartoon Katie because I'm like a walking, talking cartoon character. Very animated, my voice, I've been told.
So how does it long did it take you to film those videos? Like especially the one that you have out now, the 1111.
I produced them all, and
Oh wow.
I shot 2 music videos in one day in less than 6 hours.
Wow, so you need a lot of energy for that, right?
Yeah, a lot of vision and
Yeah.
trusting the right people. I try to keep my production.
Yeah, sorry about that. But when I saw your video on the one where you got blood and then you're in the bathtub, and I'm like, oh, what kind of video is this? I know it's fake blood, and you produced that on your own as well and directed that on your own as well?
Yeah, actually, Belligerent music video, Nikki Scorpio edited it. He and I have a musical duo called the Sophisticated Psychos.
Yeah.
All that footage is from a short film I produced and directed and starred in and wrote through SAG. It's a short film, and I just took the highlighted parts of that short film and put it in, and Nikki edited to make it a music video.
That's amazing.
It really is. He's so talented.
And
And
in the go ahead.
I love that project, Red Egg. It's one of my favorite short films I've ever done.
Oh, do you ever get tired? Like, do you ever get to a point where I can't do this anymore. I just need a break, or do you just go on and on and on? Share with us about that. When is the time when I had enough right now. I need to have a me time. I need to get my energy up. Or are you just going on and on and on? You go to sleep, you get up, you have your breakfast, and then you're on and on and on. Like, how would that work for Katiechonacas?
It's always on and on and on. I'm always on, even when I'm off. Like it's all just transitioning, pivoting, transitioning. So if I'm doing all this right now, but if I'm like done, I'll have food. That's nourishment for myself and for my actor. And it's a way for my brain to decompress and then come up with ideas that just naturally come. Or if like I'm done with electronics, I'll write poetry or I'll doodle or I'll write. Or like if I'm feeling exhausted or something like that, I'll, have a massage or go to a spa or sleep or just listen to a podcast or record a podcast or record poetry. It's very therapeutic for me, but there's no off and on. It's just always on, but it's always like, am I on like putting it all out there, or if I'm on like restoring my energy? But I'll always be listening to binaural beats or listening to music, so as an artist, as a human, it's just always going.
Yeah, like I have a light switch in the kitchen, and at one point, that when you tried to turn the switch on, it wouldn't stay up. So when you let go, it would turn the light right off. And I'm like, there was no light in the kitchen for almost 3-4 weeks until they fixed it, because they had to. I'm not going to do it myself. I don't know anything about electricity. Had to go in there and replace the
Yeah, but
entire.
they made you wait 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, apparently, but that
Sorry
makes
to
me
hear
think.
that.
If you can't turn yourself off, then maybe your switch needs to be kind of made so you can. No, but that's okay. But
No, I've had friends before where it's like I would be like so isolated inside. They'd be like, "Come on, you're coming," and they would like take me to the park or something like that. Yeah, I do tend to isolate myself a lot, so I have to remember to go out. And it's it's with the what's been going on, it's been so easy to just create and do everything from home and from being more introverted. So I personally like that because I was very fortunate and lucky to make the choice to travel the world when I was younger. So I traveled the world twice, and I still have a lot more of the world that I do want to see. But the time of homing in now has been really therapeutic and very healing and healthy for me to slow down, to get more in balance and homeostasis.
homeostasis, I like that word. What what did the you said the world blew up, and I agree with you. How did the pandemic deal with your mental stability, getting film roles, relationships? Did it change much?
Well, in terms of my mental stability, I was like, oh, because I didn't have to keep up with the Joneses, being invited to this event, this event, this event, this event, this dinner, paying half, paying for other people. Like I would just felt always responsible to pay for everybody, and I was being inauthentic to myself. So I was able to like save money, not buy everything for everyone, you know, and not like be like the fear of missing out of not going to events and things like that. So I was able to like take all that attention psychologically and physically that I was putting out, and I was able to like restore and align and get connected more with my artist again, get more in tune with me, and create. And I released hypnotic energy under the sophisticated psychos, and we worked with the scientist Eric Thompson, and we encoded them with solfeggio healing frequencies, 639 healing frequencies to remove to for forgiveness, to forgive myself, to forgive others. I felt like humanity as a whole, we needed to do a lot more forgiving of one another. So I released it on 10/20/2020. And it's a beautiful EP. You can listen to it. It's called Hypnotic Energy. Under the sophisticated psychos, it's streaming everywhere. So it was very healing for me. It was a very, very healing time watching everything that was going on. But it's Mother Nature. There's supposed to be chaoticness, there's supposed to be destruction, there's supposed to be companies and buildings falling and not working because the platforms in which they were built do not serve our society now and how we're evolving and where we're growing to. So I think it's more sustainable in a lot of ways, to dismantle some things that weren't working. Obviously, I'm very mindful of, the people who aren't with us anymore, and the people who had really difficult times losing jobs and things of that nature, but we're resilient beings. So we're sensitive, but we're resilient, and it's a part of our each of our own's journey to shape shift and show up for ourselves and make it happen no matter no matter what the circumstance is. So, and having community and friends and people we can communicate with is very important as well.
Well, you mentioned about sophisticated cycles. I wanted to ask you where you got that name from.
It means wisdom minds. It's a Greek rooted word. It means wisdom minds.
Oh wow, that's actually quite amazing. Um, yeah, you got a lover's fairy tale, and I appreciate the PDF of that one. It's a really gorgeous book. I really appreciate it. It was written really well. So, is there anything that Katiechonacas has not done that she wants to do in the next 5 years?
Yeah, well, I want to release my next poetry book, hopefully in the next few weeks. That's what I would like to do. I would like to be a lead on an animation TV series. I would like
Nice.
to start a family of my own. I would like
Mhm.
to buy a property on the ocean. So those are my goals and focuses, to own, a home of my own on the water. I want my children, God willing, to put their toes in the sand and be able to see the Mother Nature and smell the breeze of the ocean, and have the energy of water within their spirits and their souls. I think it's very therapeutic and healing, and
Yeah.
something I admire. So it's something I want to provide for my future family if it's meant to be.
Do you want to be known for albums and songs and music, or do you want to be known for how many movie roles you had, how many TV shows you had, um, or do you want to be known as Katiechonacas, the the energetic female who has a lot of friends? We're gonna miss her, whatever. So, what do you want to be known for?
I'm going to be known for it all, but I'm going to be known that I marched to the beat of my own drum and I went for it, and everything,
Mhm.
I discovered and touched turned to gold. I'm going to be known as a Renaissance person.
That's nice.
Someone the other day said I'm a polymath. People have said that. So, um, you know, multi disciplinary, disciplinary. My tongue's twisted on that one. Yeah. So that's how I'm gonna definitely be remembered. Um, but I think I need to step more into my power, and I've been doing that. Dreamland 1111 was all about uh, claiming and reclaiming one's power. So, because I knew my power, I had a knowing, and as we talked about through this podcast, you get, something along the journey like bites you. And so I like kind of like lost my way, and that's a part of the journey, to lose yourself, to find yourself.
Yeah.
So for me, this is a reclaiming of my power through divine femininity. And so I'm excited to go on this journey and show up for myself in ways that I don't even know yet. So
Well, when we were talking about ships and putting your hand to the plow and wearing like neck braces, it came to my mind that okay, so you don't have anything turn you off. But what do you do when you approach a waterfall? What do you do when you're approaching a wall and you can't turn left or right? How does Katie prevent those things? Even though you see them ahead, how do you prevent those things? Do you go around them? Do you go over them? Do you smash right through them? Is there Katie smashing particles like that?
of
How do you?
course, like you have to make a choice. You have to make an intuitive hit. You're like, so for example, like right now I have Instacart and Whole Foods that delivers
Yeah,
groceries to me
that's good.
because of I'm just going to avoid all the possible things of all those things. Like, so I'm not going to go to a market. I'm a sensitive person. My senses get overloaded with everything happening in the world, and
Mhm.
people are on edge and in a rush, and, scared out of their minds and not wanting to smell or touch each other. Like I'm just going to avoid and not go there. So there's a service that can deliver, like, for $10 a month, they can just deliver to me, and it's the same amount I'm spending if I were to go to the store. So it's time and energy. So that's like one example, like the quality of one's choice, right? And then another thing is like, if something were to happen where it's like, I just have to go through it. And it's like, okay, this is happening. For example, like I'll have an audition for something and it'll be like 12 pages, and I have to like be off book, and I have to like know my lines, and I just have to like do it, or I'm not going to do the audition, and I'm not going to have the opportunity to be on CBS and a lead on a new show making like a whole bunch of money if I'm going to be scared and intimidated and not go through it. So then I just immediately cancel everything, and I research and I get involved with the character, and I start building it, and I start memorizing it. I call my mom, I have her read my lines with me. I just, I need to get the lines out back and forth, and I record it, I play it, listen to it all night, and I get my coach, I get the lighting, I get set up, and I do it, and I just go through it, and I'm like, oh, after, but like you just buckle up and you do it. So that's kind of how I approach things.
Well, like with me, that's an excellent story. I'm glad you shared that. It brought to mind a story about where I did my very first song at a church, and I practiced it for 2, 3 weeks. I knew, memorized it, the first lines, the second stanza, everything, the chorus. But when I got there to sing it, I forgot the second stanza. I forgot the chorus. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I got to think fast. So I took the first lyric stanza, made it second stanza. I took the chorus, and I think I made it up because people in that audience don't even know the song. But stupidly, what I did is that when they said, "Oh, that was great. You sounded really good," I said, "Yeah, but I forgot a line. I did this," and I said, "No, you don't. You just say, okay, thank you very much. You don't let them know what you did. You don't let them in on the game plan."
They don't
So
know. They don't know. They
yeah,
don't know. They don't know. They don't know if you missed the line. They don't know if like you burped. They don't know. They have their own stuff going on in their own head,
yeah.
and they don't. It doesn't matter.
Is there a movie role you had where can't do it, or this is the opposite of me? How do I
Oh,
do this? So
oh
how
yeah.
how is it easy for you to become Katie, the actress, who's not Katie, the real life person? How do you do that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if I read, my team knows me, so like they just don't get me certain projects. It's not
Mm,
aligning to me, but if I'm not vibing it, I'm not going to do it. I just pass on it. I just don't do it. And they respect me more, because if you're just saying yes to everything, then it's like. But if you're like, no, or I'm not going to give my best performance, or they want like authentic British accent or authentic like French accent, like they're going to book someone, they're going to find someone. Why waste my time, their time, my team's time? No, it's quality over quantity. So it's more powerful to turn down things, sometimes.
yeah, we have a Canadian actress named Julie Christie, and she doesn't accept everything. The last one she did was called Away from Her with Gordon Pinsent, and she became like her character was someone with Alzheimer's. But the movie she did previously was 10, 20 years earlier. It's not like Will Ferrell, who will you'll just see him in everything. You'll see Will Ferrell. He'll just take everything. It's like,
He's great. I love Will Ferrell.
like, what are you planning to be? You just want to be known.
But if you look at Will Ferrell, like the stuff he does, it's like spot on because he's that confident and he has a knowing and he knows he can do it and he makes it work and it works. Like if you can do it and makes it work, like Kevin Hart, yeah. And there's things I can do and it's just like boom. It's like yeah, do it.
Was your character in SVU, was that your first role? Because I noticed it didn't last very long.
Which role?
The one you were in SVU with
I was a
Ice-T.
guest star. I was a guest star on the show.
So that was that was very small role? Was that your first role?
It's a guest. No, it wasn't my first role, but it's called a guest star, where I'm a guest star on the show. A recurring is when someone has an arc and they're there for multiple episodes, and a series regular is when someone's on the, they're a character where you're going to see them all the time on the series. A co-star is a smaller role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's co-star if it's like a small role, and then there's a guest star. Yeah.
I heard that when you're filming, like when you're talking about your energy and the way you are when they're filming, I think it's like triple, quadruple on, like, it's something, I don't know how to explain it. You are the way you are, but when you're reading a role or filming, I hear the directors, producers, some co-stars, some actors that you work with, they kind of like, they're mean-spirited. I think some of them, like they will look down on the co-stars. They will look down on the.
Not at all. Not at all. It's psychological. I have clients. A lot of my clients are background actors, but I have to remind them, like, there's so many background actors who wish they could be on set, like free food. You're on like multi-million-dollar productions in film and TV. Like you are a union actor. Like you're getting paid. Like be grateful. Some like, I have to like remind them, like some people wish they could be working right now. They can't get on set. So, but mean-spirited people, that's going to be everywhere you go. And there's different quality of projects. So, it's like, do your job. It doesn't matter what other people think. Do your job, do it well, and leave. That's what matters the most. And the people who are ethical and the people who will appreciate you is when you go and do your job, and then they're gonna like book you again and remind you and like want to work with you on something else.
I know, and I'm so glad you're not.
Soon because I have to go to my next meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask you. Okay,
yeah, it's totally fine.
Yeah, I'm saying that like a lot of them are just. My friend was a limousine driver to the stars, and they say, okay, you got to make sure you don't talk to this person. Like Sylvester Stallone, you're going to be driving around. Don't say anything to him. He doesn't like conversation. And I'm like, really? So anyway, I thank you very much I'm sorry for taking your time, but thank you very much for this discussion. Wonderful, wonderful guests. I appreciate it, everything. And thank you very much for your assistant.
Yeah, just to like comment off what you just said, it's just like, it's like when you're a professional performer, like there's something called a rider. So it's like the talent has their riders when they get to their dressing room. It's a rider. It's like, for the talent to prepare and do what they're going to do, they may need to have water. They may need to have, I know there's like this thing about like M&Ms or whatever, but maybe it reminds me of my grandma, or like maybe it reminds me of my mom and it soothes me, or like you could bring your own, but there's sometimes talent have riders. And also, it's like, there's professionalism. When you're a driver for Uber or you're a driver for Lyft, there's things you say and don't say to customers who are getting into the car. So if you're going to be in entertainment and you're driving around celebrities and stuff, the celebrity or the affluential person needs to be mindful of what kind of phone conversations they're having. If it's just like a random driver, because they could like share or not share that information. So a lot of people have the same drivers because they sign contracts and it's trusted. But it's like, yeah, if you're having a professional job, like if I'm driving like Demi Moore around, like it's my job to drive her to where she needs to go. It's not my job to like gossip and chat with her. I can be like, hey, cordial and be professional, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's totally fine. But it's not we're not there to like have dinner with them. They, you know what I mean? We're not meeting in that kind of way. That driver's providing a service, so that's just like a blanketed statement because it could go in so many different ways. There's so many different companies, there's so many different jobs, there's so many different types of people, and we don't know what other people are going through. They could just lose someone. They could have the best day ever and they'll want to like tell you everything and be so excited, but sometimes maybe they're preparing for an acting role. Maybe they're going to a set for a big meeting and they need to be able to focus on, the craft of like what they're doing, so it's not like punching into a job and then doing something like online. Maybe it's they're needing to use their mind and their imagination and their thoughts to tap into something important. So it's not blaming or shaming like or another person. It's just that's what we're all unique beings and we all need different things.
I really appreciate that. Thanks for the conversation. So Dreamland 1111 is out now.
It's
And
Dreamland 1111. It's streaming everywhere. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm going to leave into the description all how you can contact Katie and all her work and poetry. And for those who are watching this right now, to subscribe to the channel for more content because we're going to have more guests for you, more conversation. You're wonderful, Katie. I really appreciate you saying this podcast, and it's excellent. So we're going to end with Juliet. Now you're free to stay for it, or you can leave. But yeah, I thought that Juliet would be a good ending to
Okay,
our.
cool.
So
Awesome.
you want to stick around with it, right?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much. Really
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay, everyone, this is Juliet from Katie Chonacas. I hope you enjoy it.
He loves me. He loves me not. 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 Hold on to the pain that will never last. Hold on to the wish that never had the chance. I would have, could have, gone all the way with you. If I was taking the chance, you had no clue, but you didn't. Who knew? I'm sick to my tummy now. I feel insane. I need to throw up. I keep kissing my brain. Sick, twisted. I need to be uplifted. I can't take this stress. I can't take this sorrow. Crossroads, star heavens. He could have been the one. He could have been an 11. A perfect fit. The ultimate ish. You and me, ride or die. You and me, flood the skies. With hope, with dreams. You and me, in between. You had no hope. You had no fear. You're just a little boy with nothing to gear. Confidence, bias, foundation in the 3rd degree. You just stood there, just murdered me. Juliet is wanted, dead or alive. You found her and had no pride in keeping her warm, in keeping her clean. You were warned, had no steam. You could have been the one. We could have had so much fun. Memories that make it last. I once knew you, now that's the past. Learning and growing with someone you love. I'm so confused. I thought that was true love. To take a chance, make it last. Juliet, I will be true. Juliet, I love you. Take a chance, forget the past. You and me, ride or die. You and me, time to fly. Spread those wings, oh so wide. Look to me, I'll be by your side. The forever kingdom is waiting for us. I'm your empress, the one you can trust. Forever me, by your side. Forever me, with so much pride. I'm your Juliet, your sacred one. I'm your silk roses, sitting in the sun. Together, you and me.
Excellent, Katie. Excellent poetry. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you for just allowing to share it with everyone. Okay, thank you, Katie. So have a wonderful day, and I really appreciate it. Let's say goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Katie.
Bye.
Bye.
Later. Bye, everyone. Ciao.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.